Hello, everyone. Welcome back to What Matters Most. I am very excited and happy to introduce you all to Yedidah Cohen. Welcome, Yedidah, to What Matters Most.
Hello, Daniel. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, of course. So I'll just say a few words about Yedidah. Yedidah is a deeply devoted teacher of Kabbalah. She spent over 30 years immersed in transformative teachings of Rabbi Yedidah Ashlag, known as Bala Sulam. She brings kind of Kabbalah back to somehow the essence of understanding how to do some of the inner work, understanding who we truly are and what our relationship is with the divine. And of course, that's very beautiful, very powerful, and in relation to what we want to bring into the podcast. She's translated several of Rabbi Ashlag's works into English, including In the Shadow of the Ladder and A Tapestry for the Soul. You can find a lot of her work and her courses as well in nehora.press.com. She's the founder of this editorial. And well, I'm happy that we can talk about all of these topics. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for that lovely introduction.
Would you like to add a little bit more to that? Say a little bit sort of what brought you to where you are today?
Oh, that's a big question. I think, when you first wrote to me about this podcast, you said to me, the question that you're really focusing on is what matters to me most. And I think that when I look over my whole life, I've been in some sort of relationship with the Creator, or at least from my side, I've tried to be in a relationship with the Creator. And I think overall that was the question that brought me to the work of Rabbi Ashlag. Because I was trying to find a true connection to the Creator, and that's what I was really looking for. And I didn't find it originally in the Torah that I was brought up with. I came from a religious home, what nowadays would be called modern Orthodox. I was brought up in London, but it was very much the external aspect of the religion. It was, you have to do this, you have to do that. It was doing all the rituals. But where was that connection? Where was that inner source? Where was my connection with the Creator? And I always felt there had to be one. Naturally, as many children do, we develop our own connection with the Creator till about age 6 or 7. And then it tends to fade because of the pressure of the environment we're brought up in. So many of us have that instinctive connection. And I wanted to find that again. And so I learned, I have to say, I'm also grateful for the religious upbringing that I got, because it gave me tools. It gave me, especially tools in Hebrew, able to read the Torah in its original language, tools which I use a lot today. But I was looking for that connection. That's what I was really looking for. And it was when I found the work of Rabbi Ashlag that I said, wow, that's it. That's it. And it was about 30 years ago, and I remember it today. When I first came across his material, I have to say it spoke to me in a way that nothing else had ever spoken to me. I had this incredible feeling that Rabbi Ashlag wrote this specially for me. I mean, it sounds crazy, but that's what I really felt. And since I felt that, I thought, I have to learn this. That's what I have to do.
Which work was it that you first encountered?
Well, that's an interesting question. There was somebody here in Tzfat. His name was David Baruch, and he's a jeweler. And but through friends, I became connected with him, and I sensed there was something that he knew that I didn't know about a relationship with the Creator. He lived his life in connection with the Creator, and I knew that I wasn't doing that. And so it was actually my father's yahrzeit And I said to him, I want to sort of do something for my father's yahrzeit. When my father died, we hadn't been on the very best of terms, and I wanted to repair a relationship. And so he told me meet him at the synagogue of the Ari, which is just above the where the Ari is buried in the old cemetery of Tzfat. Now, in fact, there are 3 synagogues called the Ari in Tzfat, and I wasn't at all sure which one I was meant to be in. But anyhow, thank God I picked the right one. And it turns out that in that synagogue, there actually is a cave in which the Holy Ari used to sit. And that's where he received the channeling that eventually became his teaching. So he met me there, David Baruch, and he said, look, while we're here, he told me to light a candle for my father, for his yahrzeit. And then he said, look, while we're here, we should learn from the work of the Ari. So he told me to go to the shelf, pick a book, and I opened the book. And that was my first introduction to this material. Because Rabbi Ashlag is absolutely the heir of the Ari. The Holy Ari taught orally, but he didn't write anything down. It was his student, Rabbi Chaim Vital, who wrote it down. And when the Ari died, he told his student, only you are allowed to listen to, work with this material. And none of the other students are even allowed to even deal with it anymore. And nothing is to be taught because none of you really understand it properly. So, of course, this sounded like a totally devastating blow. Because how will we understand the inner meanings of Kabbalah if there's nobody to teach us? After the Ari died, it turns out that the Rabbi Chaim Vital received in his dreams much more teaching from the Ari, and he wrote it down in exercise books. But he wrote it down in a way that's really not understandable for ordinary human beings, because he obeyed his teacher to make sure that the ordinary person who wasn't
Could not understand it.
well, yeah. So this basically was the situation until Rabbi Ashlag in the 1920s came on the scene. Now, he was born at the end of the 19th century, and he worked very hard on himself, and he basically finished all the tikkun, all the correction of his soul that he needed to make, and he came into unity with the Creator at an extremely early age. I suggest about 1920, something like that. He already finished the work that all of us have to do. He finished his, at the age of 20 or something. And he understood that he needs to leave Poland and come to Israel. And here he started teaching a small band of students. And it was teaching those students, he understood he needed to take the wisdom of the Ari and organize it in a logical way and explain it. And this is the first time in Jewish history that this material has been available to you and to me, to ordinary people. He then, later on in his life, after he completed this incredible work called The Study of the 10 Sfirot, which was revolutionary, he then took the principles of the Ari and applied them to the central book of Kabbalah called the Zohar. And again, he opens the Zohar, the central book, to you and me, and to everybody else here listening.
That's amazing. That's super powerful.
We don't understand or
So just
appreciate what he actually did.
Just for context, and I want to make sure the people listening are getting the full picture here. So the Ari is Rabbi Isaac Luria, right? The Arizal.
Yes, that's right.
Who wrote the Yetz Chaim, or basically taught the Yetz Chaim, and then Chaim Vital, his student, wrote it.
That's
and this
right.
was sometime in the 15th century, correct?
I think it was the early 16th century, to be honest.
Early 16th century, in Tzfat.
In Tzfat, yeah.
In northern Syria in Israel. And then Rabbi Yehuda Leib Ashlag came in the 20th century.
That's right.
And sort of some people do say that he's actually an incarnation, correct, of
He said of
the
himself.
Arizal. He said it himself. All right.
He wrote this extraordinary letter to his father, and he said, for reasons that are beyond my comprehension, I feel the soul of the Ari has incarnated within me.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think this is an amazing statement, because the truth is that logically there's no way to understand the Eitz Chaim. There's no way to understand Rabbi Chaim Vital's teachings. I'm not saying, by the way, that nobody else previously understood it. There was the Baal Shem Tov, there was a great movement of Hasidut, which is all founded on the Ari's teaching. But you needed to be a great sage, totally pure, totally, and ordinary people are not there.
And I mean, in fact, Rabbi Ashlag was a Chassid, was of the family of Chassidut, correct?
Yes, right. That's
so
right.
He inherited the tradition of the Baal Shem Tov on the one hand, and sort of continue or push the boundaries. I think in a way, like what I understand his greatest achievement is like really taking it out of the Chassidut movement as well into the masses, like even Jews and non-Jews, right? Like bringing kind of like a concrete science of spirituality and practical methods for one's self healing and tikkun. That's very powerful.
Yeah. I actually want to just sort of like say that I don't like the idea of using the word science for this. And the reason why is because some people say, this is kind of like scientific, but I don't think of it in that terms. First of all, it's the relationship of ourselves with the Creator. That's the heart of it all. And that is so individual and so it's not scientific. Scientific is something like outside of ourselves, but it's actually talking from the perspective of the relationship between the wisdom of God and the soul within each one of us. So it looks like science, but it isn't. In fact, the more you learn it, the more you see the love. It's actually an expression of love, of divine love towards us, and of the love that we can give to each other and to the divine back. So
what is the expression of love specifically? The wisdom of Kabbalah? Is it the way that when we interact with the wisdom of Kabbalah, we perceive Hashem's presence, or we perceive that relationship in a loving way? That's what you're kind of more referring to?
I think it's, first of all, the way we experience love, of course, is different for each of us. But one of the things that struck me enormously when I learned the work of Rabbi Ashlag is the incredible love that is present in his work in every way. You can find recordings of his teachings, of live teachings to his pupils, and I've never heard a voice so filled with love and clarity as his voice. Now, he taught in Yiddish. I don't understand any Yiddish, but his kindness, his love, and yet at the same time, he was very, very clear that clarity and love go together. And the other thing that I find in his writings, especially in the Zohar, is he explains from different perspectives every single time from a different perspective. He explains the processes of how the vessel, which is our desires, our consciousness, and the light, which is the goodness of God, how they interact in every single time. And I mean, I've learned much in my life. I was actually a medical doctor before I got involved with all of this. And I've learned a lot of material. I've never found material where somebody is so willing to explain from this direction, from that direction, from this direction, from that direction, the basic ideas again and again and again. And so, number one, you see that love in Rabbi Ashlag's writings. But I think you also learn during the work that you do on yourself, as we take that material into us, that wisdom into us, we begin to experience that love in our own lives more and more. And I think it's amazing.
Beautiful. So going back a little bit to sort of, let's say, like your personal relationship with Hashem, um, how did that encounter with Kabbalah sort of change your life? And, you know, how were you able to sort of discover further what it meant for you? What impact did it have for you? And how did you decide to say, like, I'm gonna, translate some of this work, right? Like, I want to bring this to everyone. I want to make everybody to feel this or something. Like,
Okay, so this is actually quite a complicated question because it wasn't a smooth path. It wasn't like I've like an upward curve. I would say it was much more like a waveform, with a lot of ups and a lot of downs, a lot of mistakes.
sounds a lot like life.
Yeah, yeah, it is life. Um, at times when I feel connected and I'm able to really connect with the soul, and other times when, quite frankly, I've goofed off somewhere, I've lost it. Okay, and what I've learned to trust is the love of God who brings me back.
Mm,
It's not that I am, on this steady upwards connection, not at all. I go up. God gives me this sort of like connection, and Baruch Hashem, I have that moment of yes, I'm there, and then thank you Hashem, and then other times when I've gone completely in the wrong direction, and I
yeah.
think that what we learn is we actually learn what we're made up of. I mean, that's the main teaching that you learn again and again. That we are made up of a package deal. We are the soul within us, which is the vehicle for the divine within us, but also the body, which has got its own desires, its own aspect of design to receive pleasure and joy, never mind what else is going on. And it can actually take us quite away from our connection with the Creator. So with this package deal, in fact, we are the, the, the essence of good and the essence of bad. We are both. Okay. And that's why the world looks the way it looks, because we have both this incredible wisdom and we have also the terrible news we hear everywhere. You just have to open the radio or the television once and we can see the other side of the human being. So the human being is a package deal. And like everybody else, I have my positive sides, my negative sides. And what the Kabbalah has helped me to understand is who I am. That's the first thing. And to take into consideration both sides of myself. And also when I'm dealing with my relationship with the divine, but also when I'm dealing with my relationship with other people or my family. Not everything goes smoothly. People say and do things which press my buttons. How do I
Of course.
respond to that? You know, and gradually, it's this, waveform which you hope is going a little bit up somehow.
Upwards, essentially.
So upwards a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in your book of tapestry, I actually started a new small chavruta yesterday with my family, Baruch Hashem, and one of the first things you bring up in the context of Bala Sulam's text of Introduction to the Zohar is the question of what is essence,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And sort of Rabbi Ashlag talks about, there is the body, there is the characteristic, there is the abstraction of the characteristic, and then there is essence. And sort
Yes.
of like you understand that essence is not any of these things,
Right.
right? But you still don't understand what essence is. And so that there's a clear question of like, okay, like I understand Kabbalah shares that you cannot understand the essence of God. Like we cannot even start speaking about it. But is there anything about our essence? Is there anything about essence of reality that we can grasp? Like how do you think about that in your day to day?
Okay. So there's a very interesting question. So if we just translate what Rabbi Ashlag said into sort of more easy language, okay, he says, okay, we're not our bodies, okay, and that's obvious to most of us because, we start off like that and we end up fatter or taller or whatever, okay, and eventually our bodies will die. Our physical body will die, okay, and so clearly that's not our essence. Our essence doesn't die. If you ask anybody, are you going to die? In their logical mind, they'll say yes, but in their heart, they'll say no. Nobody feels they're going to die. Your true feeling within yourself is, I'm going to live forever. And that is actually true, because your heart is telling you the truth, because the soul is eternal. All right? So yes, okay, so number one, we're not our body. He has another question, and he says, well, am I a form expressed in the body? And that is like my personality. Am I my personality either? And the answer is no, we're not our personalities. We can change. We've got all these lovely stories, like, was it Scrooge or something, or, these misers in the tales who change and become, generous. And we can start off with a negative personality or negative things that we do, and we have the ability to change. So our personalities are not fixed in stone either. All
In
right?
fact, like a movement like Hasidut emphasizes a lot the work on the midot, right?
That's right. That we can work on ourselves. So if I tend to be stinginess, I can work on myself to be more generous. Okay, so my personality is not fixed in stone. So that's not my essence either, because that's something that can change. And then he asks a third aspect is it some abstract idea like truth or veracity or falseness or whatever, some abstract thing away from the body? He says, no, that's not our essence either. So what is our essence? And the answer is we do not know. We do not have any way of directly feeling, sensing, understanding not only the essence of God, but our own essence either. We actually don't know. All we can know, and this is a very important point, is we can know what comes from our essence. What is the voice of my soul? What is my intuition telling me? What is the still small voice within me? What is God telling me through the events of my life, through the mistakes, through the good things? What is He telling me? Through the wisdom of the Torah. The wisdom of the Torah I see as a complete bridge. There's a very fascinating statement in the Zohar which says, "Oraita Kudsha B'richu v'Yisrael Chadheim." The Holy Torah, the Holy Blessed One, and Israel are one. And what that means is that Holy Torah, the essence of the Torah, the essence of God, and the essence of our soul are one.
Are the same.
Huh?
Are the same, one and the same, you mean?
Are the one essence. That means I can't know my soul directly, I can't know God directly, but I can certainly learn the Torah. And the closer we can get to the essence of the Torah, the closer we can understand. And the Kabbalah is not the essence of the Torah, but it's the closest to it. It's like the different layers of Torah, the written Torah, the oral Torah, the Halakha, for example, those are all called the garments of the Torah. So is the Kabbalah, but the Kabbalah is the most subtle of all the garments. It's closest to the essence. And that's why it gives us a closeness and an understanding that honestly, I don't think is available any other way. Yeah.
I definitely feel very identified with your story and the way you express all of these concepts. I remember the first time I opened Tapestry. That was my first encounter with Kabbalah, actually. My coach Rabbi recommended it. And I remember like that it just really created this motivation to wake up really early every day, right? And open the book and be alone and just create that space to explore that essence or that connection.
Yes.
And it would more often than not end up in me sort of crying out of realization of something big that I had been wondering for many years, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And that's a super powerful feeling. And I think it's this idea or feeling of identification with truth, right? There's something so true inherently there that you cannot express intellectually or right, rationally, but you're just experiencing it.
You just experience it. That's right. And I think of course we need the intellect as the gateway, but it doesn't stay there. It moves into the heart, and from there deeper into our lives. So yes, I absolutely agree with you. Yes, beautiful. I'm very happy. It gives me I have to say, it gives me very good feeling, to hear the feedback from people who discover this work and relate to it in different ways. It gives me very, very, makes me feel
Yeah.
that the effort of the translation, bringing it out to a wider public, has been so worthwhile. So thank you.
Yeah, I can only imagine the feeling. And as you know, I mean, last Rosh Hashanah, I decided that I was going to gift this book as kind of my 1-year anniversary of going into the book, to gift it to 10 people. And I actually ended up gifting it to more, because I bought also Hebrew and English. And maybe now it just came down as a kind of a download. I didn't even think about it before, but I'm going to tell the audience that the first 5 people that reach out to me, I'll be happy to gift them one of your books. So it's so important. I think there is a lot to say about why it is important, but I hope we get to some of that in a second. And I think, like, one of the things that I always wonder, and I think it's one of the reasons why I started this podcast as well, is sort of, how do we move from the individual to the collective, right? Thank you everyone for listening to this first part of our episode with Yedidah Cohen, and I'm looking forward to hearing your feedback on the second part as well. Go ahead and check it out now.